coverage of the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's finally here as the Jets continue to thrive as the kings of the offseason. With all these picks and all these trades, can the Jets improve enough to become a playoff team in year 2 of Glenn and Muji? Jake's here and is live breaking down all the picks the Jets are making. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Live at the NFL Draft, it is indeed the Jake Asman Show presented by PrizePicks. Well, the New York Jets have selected tight end Kenyon Sadiq with the 16th overall pick. David Bailey of Texas Tech, the pass rusher at number 2. And at 16, with several other wide receivers on the board, the Jets go with a weapon, but it's not a receiver. It's a tight end. The Jets take Sadiq, who is an absolute freak. Sadique the Freak. You can see the nickname forming if he goes out there and actually balls out. Here's the thing. Sadiq has a chance to be a phenomenal pass catcher, and that's how you have to view the pick. He's not a true tight end. He's a better blocker, I would say, than some give him credit for. But this is a guy that's going to catch passes. This is a guy that's going to be a big slot. Think Harold Fannin with the Browns this past year. He's a guy that you're going to incorporate in your offense. He's going to have, just athletic skills that will allow him to hopefully get open and make plays downfield. He's big enough to run by and go over a linebacker. And because he's so big, a corner or a safety might not be able to cover him. You got to hope that the Jets can find a way to take advantage of his 6'3", 241 frame. For a modern tight end, that's not a crazy amount of height and a crazy amount of weight. But he's a ridiculous athlete. He ran a 4.39 at the combine. His vertical was a 4.3.5. The guy's a freak. He had 13 catches of 20-plus yards or more this past year. Look, you look at the Jet offense, and they needed a weapon. You have to hope this guy turns into a weapon. Do I like the pick, though? I got to be honest. This was not the direction I would have gone in if I was Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, and the Jets. Mekhi Lemon was on the board. That's the pick I would have made. We talked a lot about, one of the big 3 receivers being there. Well, Carnell Tate got picked at 4. Jordan Tyson got picked at 8. It was right there for the Jets to take Mekhi Lemon, who I think is actually the second best receiver in this draft class. They passed on him. They also passed on Omar Cooper from Indiana. They also passed on Denzel Boston from Washington. They could have had any of those receivers. You want to throw Casey Concepcion from A&M in there? He was there. And you chose to go with Sadiq, who, while he is a tight end, he's obviously going to be a weapon in your offense. And let's hope Frank Reich has an idea how to use him. Frank Reich is already one of the more important people in the Jets building. He's going to have to be able to design an offense that can get the football to Kenyon Sadiq and Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor is your inline tight end. Kenyon Sadiq is your big slot. I don't love the pick. I would have either traded out, move back a couple spots to a team that needs one of the offensive tackles, and then taken one of those receivers I mentioned, or I would have just taken Mekhi Lemon. But I'm not going to sit here and bash any pick that they make, because Sadiq is a guy who was mocked to go in the top 10 by many people. He's a really talented player, but I just worry if the Jets have the right coaching to be able to take advantage of what he could do. It's a pick that has a lot of projection in it, and the Jets coaching staff a year ago was the worst in football, you could argue. It was an abomination. They changed the entire offensive staff. I do think Frank Reich is an upgrade over Tanner Engstrand, but I'm not going to sit there and lie to the audience and tell you Frank Reich is some modern, offensive genius. He's 64 years old. He was out of the NFL last year. He was coaching Stanford football. Before that, he was a head coach being fired 11 games into his first year with the Panthers, and he got fired in the middle of the season with the Colts. Do I think he's better than maybe what some have said? Yes. Do I think he's important in designing an offense around what Kenyon Sadiq could do? Absolutely. But I would have gone out there and just taken the best receiver on the board. More conventional pick. You don't have a number 2 wide receiver right now. Now, could the Jets trade back into the end of round 1 for one of these receivers? I could see it. Maybe they're going to wait till 33 to address wide receiver. We knew the Jets were going to be aggressive in this draft in terms of finding weapons. At least we felt like they were. This is a weapon, so you can't criticize them for saying, look, we compare Sadiq to the other receivers. We think he's the best. You have to view it through that lens. I heard people throw out the term, this is a luxury pick. It's not a luxury pick. In the modern NFL, the Jets are telling you Kenyon Sadiq is going to be our pass-catching weapon. Don't look at him as a receiver or a tight end. He's a pass catcher. That's what the Jets are telling you. That's their rationale for the pick. I personally would have went with a wide receiver because I feel better about the Jets just taking more of a traditional offensive player. But Sadiq is the real deal. All right, he could do a lot of things that could help a team win. It's just a matter of can the Jets actually incorporate him into the offense. Again, this guy had 13 catches of 20-plus yards or more. He ran a 4.39. He's got a 43.5-inch vertical. He's a playmaker. But I understand why there's a lot of Jet fans who are questioning the pick. You had receivers on the board. There was an opportunity there. And ultimately, the Jets, they chose to not take a wide receiver. Mekhi Lemon just got picked by the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Jets could have had him. He goes a couple picks later to a team that has won a couple Super Bowls in recent years. A really smart front office. I wonder if the Jets will end up regretting not taking Mekhi Lemon. But look, you have to view the Sadiq pick through the lens of they think they got their weapon. I would say this to the Jets. This can't be the only weapon you bring in. We need more. We need more. We need you to now address wide receiver. And I understand Sadiq is a guy who could be a wide receiver in this offense next to Garrett, but they need a traditional wide receiver. I think there's a lot of people who can get on board with David Bailey, right? David Bailey, 14.5 sacks. Analytics say he's one of the best college football pass rushers we've seen. We'll see if it translates. I think he's going to be a good player. We'll see how good he is as a football player all around besides rushing the QB. But I think Sadiq is a tougher pick to sell to the fan base. Now, let me say this. Could the Jets have a trade up their sleeve? Either trading back in for a receiver? Could the Jets maybe call the Jaguars up and say, hey, Brian Thomas Jr., here's pick 44. We want him and get a number 2 receiver that way? Maybe the Jets are going to just stick and pick at 33 and hope they finally hit on a second-round wide receiver. Maybe they're actually going to hit on a second-round wide receiver. You know, not draft another Denzel Mims, not draft another Elijah Moore, not draft another Devin Smith. That's the question. But as far as what the Jets did here, this is a huge risk. Mekhi Lemon is there. You could have had him. Denzel Boston was there. You could have had him. Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper, both guys there. And you went with the tight end, who is a weapon, who can make plays. But I still hope they use another high pick on a wide receiver. Kenyon Sadiq is a true weapon, though. He just told the local media in his Zoom press conference with them that he took a snap at every position this year except offensive line. This guy's a player. He's a playmaker. Kenyon Sadiq's sister is at NYU now. So he's somewhat familiar with the city, the area. But I got to be honest, folks. The gut punch of watching the Jets take a tight end as the Knicks blow a game on the road in the playoffs and are now trailing 2-1. I am not happy right now. I mean, my heart rate is just off the charts. But I'm coming at you live from the media room. Let me read some comments here. I'm sure this is going to be a cesspool of negativity. And people say I'm negative. Again, I would have went Lemon. I would have went with a different receiver. Honestly, I would have tried to trade down if they didn't want Mekhi Lemon. Maybe he interviewed poorly. Maybe that stuff ended up being true. I don't know. But I would not have gone in the direction of Kenyon Sadiq. I see the thought process. I don't trust the Jets to get Kenyon Sadiq to be at his best. I'm sorry. I don't trust Aaron Glenn. I don't trust Frank Reich. If the Rams took Kenyon Sadiq, great pick. How about the Rams taking Ty Simpson, by the way? We'll never know what would have happened if the Jets were sitting there at 33 and Ty Simpson was there. But some of the text I've gotten from people tonight, acting like, the Jets just took Kyle Brady. I mean, let's calm down. Give Kenyon Sadiq a chance. He's a freak athlete, and he could do a lot of different things to help his team hopefully win games. But time will tell if this was the right pick. He's a playmaker, but can the Jets unlock his full potential? That's the question with Sadiq. Comments, questions, your super chats cut the line. Big thank you to everyone who's tuned into our content. We had an awesome time at our draft party today. All the Asmaniacs who are at the draft party. Many of them have been featured in the NFL draft live broadcast. Lou B, Boy Green. I mean, take a look at this clip from my draft party, and basically everyone you see in the clip was on TV tonight in the Jets pit as they were announcing each pick. Jets, let's go! We're trying to manifest some glory here. Curly Norman says this regime has no idea what they're doing. Curly, thank you. Jetaholic writes in, I wanted Sadique or Lemon. I'm happier with this pick than Bailey. He's a weapon. Let's not lose our minds. He's a freak and maybe a top 5 tight end. Well, let me just say this, all right? Because I've been trying to be fair with the Kenyon Sadiq pick. I would not have made it. I would have taken a receiver. The expectation for Kenyon Sadiq is that he comes in and is eventually one of the 5 best tight ends in the league. You used the first-round pick on him. All right, not too many tight ends go in the first round. And the irony of the Jets taking a tight end when the last 2 off seasons, we have debated Bowers versus an offensive tackle. We have debated Warren/Loveland versus an offensive tackle. And here are the New York Jets selecting a tight end in a year where no one was talking about them taking a tight end. They actually solidified the bookend offensive tackle position. They actually went out there and they addressed tight end a year ago in the second round. Mason Taylor, who the head coach predicted was going to take the biggest leap when he was asked which player will take the biggest leap this upcoming season. He said Mason Taylor. So again, I'm not looking at it like, oh, this is a luxury pick. Now you have 2 tight ends. They drafted Sadiq because they think he could be weapon 2. I won't call it wide receiver 2 because Garrett Wilson's wide receiver 1. He's pass catcher 1. He's weapon 1. Sadiq, they're projecting to be weapon 2. They better be right. Look, I think Darren Muji has earned some benefit of the doubt. I would have went reset 2. They went with Bailey. I don't hate the pick, but the process to get us there, I think is fair to question. And I don't love the Sadiq pick. I don't hate it, but I wanted the more traditional pass catcher in that spot. But we'll see. They better be right. Joe the Jet writes in, they might believe A.D. Mitchell is number 2. They might. That'd be dumb. A.D. Mitchell had, 24 catches in 8 games as a Jet? He's got 2 touchdowns in his career in 36 games. I like A.D. Mitchell. He should be wide receiver 3. He's not a wide receiver 2. SI writes in, Joe Blewett and the whole Jets X Factor crew punching air right now. It's a tough night for Robbie Sabo. It's a really tough night for Joe Blewett. Without airing out all the texts I received from Mr. Blewett, let's just say he said, quote, bleep, bleep, hilariously bad. He's not thrilled. Again, I am not going to kill the Kenyon Sadiq pick. I just am not in love with it. I think they should have just taken Mekhi Lemon and called it a day. Again, Mekhi Lemon wasn't good enough for the Jets, but he was good enough to go to the Philadelphia Eagles. By the way, congrats to A.J. Brown on becoming a Patriot, if that wasn't official already. First to report that, Diana Rossini from Divorce Court. TH3 writes in, they're fading a wide receiver they view AD as a legit 2. Again, I don't like that logic. AD Mitchell has proven nothing, and I like him. He's been on the show. He's been right next to me. He actually was wearing this exact headset when we did our show from Radio Row at the Super Bowl. He's got 24 catches in 8 games as a Jet. He's wide receiver 2. Joe the Jet says, Muji must really like Dante Moore. Yeah, hey, Dante, you thought you could avoid the Jets this year. Well, guess what? We're coming for you next year. Unreal. Brian writes in, Jake, thanks for the late night show. We appreciate your hard work. Excited about this defense more than the offense. Jets for life. Well, thank you to you, Brian, and everyone who's watching. We got 821 of you in the chat. I want to say this to all 800 of you. As soon as the first round is over, check back. I'm going live again for an extensive night 1 reaction show. I will take calls on that show, but I promise you guys instant reaction to pick 2. We did that. Instant reaction to pick 16. I thought the Jets, to be honest, were going to move out of 16. I thought they were coming up or they were moving back. I think what happened was the Jets were going to move up for a receiver, and then Carnell Tate went 4. That changed the entire tenor of the draft. I really believe if Carnell Tate did not go pick 4, then that could have changed things. And if that were to happen, or that didn't happen, maybe the Jets would have ended up finding a team they can move up with. we'll see. I don't know their grades on the receivers. Obviously, they didn't think very highly of Mekhi Lemon because he was there. Mekhi Lemon was wide receiver 1 for some people. People I really respect. Jets thought differently. Again, we're not in the interviews. We don't know the medicals, so it's always tough. But I would have taken a receiver there. LJ says, Muji and Glenn will be fired, another wasted year. How about that for positivity? JD writes in, lost all faith in Muji. Yeah. Yeah. I won't go that far. Look, I understand the fan base is not very happy tonight. I think we have to be patient. I think we need to go out there and we need to see this team have a successful night 2. Let's see what they do to supplement things. But I don't know if we could sit here and say that we're out on Muji completely. You got to be patient. That's crazy. But I get it. The fan base is not happy. Spencer says, Geno did Bowers well. Hope the same for Sadique. Spencer, how could you say that with a straight face? Bowers missed a lot of time this year. The Raiders were the worst team in the league. Brian writes in, Sadique and Taylor, Garrett and Brees, deadly offense. Maybe. Now, I want to see some advanced analytics on how Geno Smith is at throwing to tight ends over the last 4 years. Maybe there's something to it. But I'm just going to say it. I don't love the pick. I do not love the pick. I would have taken a true wide receiver. Let's say I still think a receiver's a play at 33. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. What a wild night here at the NFL Draft. I'll give you guys a little inside look at the media center here. The stadium is behind us. It's right. We're literally in one of the club suites at Heinz Field. And then the stage is past the stadium, like on the other side of the wall here. The press conference room is all the way around the stadium here. I've never been in a draft setup that's actually in the stadium, and the stage is right outside the stadium where all the prospects are, and Lou B, Boy Green, and the fans are. But it's cool being here, man. This is the 4th draft that I've been at. This is the first time I've been here exclusively with the YouTube show. In the past, I've done radio responsibilities for SB Nation and ESPN Houston and Nashville, Vegas, and Kansas City. But so far, it's Bailey at 2, and it's Kenyon Sadiq at 16. I just didn't think the Jets were going to pull the trigger. Now, let me say this. For those who have seen my Jets Collective show, Rich Cimini called this a while ago. He said that he heard some rumblings that the Jets really liked Kenyon Sadiq. And you never know what's true, what's not. But Rich Cimini said this on March 24th on our Jets Collective show. Quote, if the wide receivers are gone, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, and you're sitting there at pick 16 and Sadiq is there, I think he probably will be. That's going to be an interesting one. Rich said he heard rumblings in the scouting community about the Jets and Sadiq. Well, Lemon was there, and that didn't seem to matter because the Jets still went with him. They still went with Sadiq over Lemon. Man, I just checked my mentions on Twitter, and people are not a fan of this pick. I don't think the Sadiq pick is that bad. I never want to hear anyone call me negative, by the way. That's enough. I'm trying to be fair here. The chat is making it sound like the Jets just drafted, Ben Hartstock, 16th overall. Here's Rich's comments on Sadiq from about 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
I've heard some rumblings in the scouting community about the Jets and Kenyon Sadiq. I mean,
really,
if the wide receivers are gone, if Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Mekhi Lemon are gone, and you're sitting there at 16 and Sadiq is there, which I think he probably will be, that's going to be an interesting one. I mean, he is off the charts athletically. I mean, the guy ran a sub 4.4. He's a good kid. There's no red flags. I mean, you could run a lot of 2 tight end stuff. I mean, the Jets need dynamic weapons. I think we all agree on that. They got Garrett Wilson, and pretty much that's it on the perimeter. Yeah. So you split him out, and you use Mason Taylor as your traditional wide tight end. You got something there. You got a tough matchup for the defense.
That's what you got to hope. Again, they're going to live in 2 tight end sets. But Sadique is a giant slot receiver. That's what he is. He's 6'3" and he runs a 4 something. He's going to just win matchups against linebackers, and he's going to run by linebackers, and he's going to out jump safeties or corners. Like he's a weapon. He's a weapon. I don't hate the pick. I just get a bad feeling that passing on Makai Lemon is going to be, I don't want to say it's like passing on JSN, but it's a concern. I can't sit here and lie to you guys. Like it's tough to see Sadique working with the Jets because it requires offensive creativity, and this is the Jets. So there's not a whole lot of creativity that we've seen in Jet history on the offensive side. And now, 50 or 64-year-old Frank Reich, not to be an ageist, but there's a reason why no team besides the Jets were going to hire him to be their OC. There's a reason why, the Jets are the only team. Now we got to rely on him to open things up in the offense. We'll see. Again, I think there's a lot to like about Kenyon Sadiq. People saying the Bailey pick is terrible. I'll push back on that. Again, I don't think it's as bad as what people have said. Like, I wanted Arvell Reese, but David Bailey had 14.5 sacks. He's an analytics darling. Like, I was getting texts from people that watched him at Texas Tech saying, the Jets got this one right. Trust me. He was double-teamed all the time. He was so productive. He seems like a smart kid. He played at Stanford. He's not a dummy. They'll be able to coach him up in the areas around his game that's obviously not great, which is the run defense, make him more of a 3-down player. I'm not anti-Bailey. I don't like the process that we got to Bailey, so that's a conversation for another time. I don't like the big swing on Sadiq. But look, if they went Arvell Reese and then Kenyon Sadiq, would the fan base feel that different? You'd be basically drafting 2 projections. Now, I think Reese is a safer bet than Sadiq, just given the history of the tight end position in the first round. But to be fair, you can't always judge the history of the tight end position now in reference to this because, let's call it for what it is. The tight end position has changed a lot in the NFL. They're basically big slots. Look at the top pass catchers. Like, Brock Bowers is a big slot. He's not a tight end. He's a receiver. He's a receiver that technically is listed as a tight end. Travis Kelce's not a great blocker. He lines up. He catches passes. That's their job. And we'll see. Teams can run successful 2 tight end sets. Look at the Ravens. Look at the Bills. You mean to tell me Geno throwing to Sadiq and Mason Taylor with Garrett on the outside, A.D. Mitchell, let's add a receiver at 33 or 44 tomorrow, and, Brees out of the backfield, that can't be a competent offense? I think it can. I just wanted a legit receiver. I see Alex is watching the show, says, buddy, we need you back at McFadden's. Come back. I will be there tonight when we get done with our show. I will be back at McFadden's tonight. I will buy shots for all Jet fans that come to McFadden's if you're in Pittsburgh. We bought like 100 shots for people earlier. Shout out to everyone who came to our draft party. That was an absolute blast. Jets! Let's go! Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. I'm going to get to a couple remaining super chats here. We'll get to the final picks, and then I'm coming back for a full recap of night 1 program. My flight back to New York is tomorrow at like 6 a.m., so I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm going all night. I'm going to the break of dawn. Jets football, Aaron Glenn for life. By the way, how about the fact that Mr. Accountability, he fell asleep during David Bailey's combine run, and now he's a Jet. I was thinking about this. And again, I defended Glenn for falling asleep because the combine could be pretty boring. You're just watching guys run in the straight line. All right, fine. But Mr. Superpowers.
Play call is my superpower, really.
Glenn fell asleep as Bailey's about to run the 40. Watch it back.
So Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects as Aaron Glenn looks on for the Jets.
Christ, Superpowers sleeping. Aaron, wake up!
Fernando Mendoza 1. Jeremiah Love, who we'll also see on Saturday here on NFL Network.
Bailey was about to run. Amazing. Oh, man. Jay Perez writes in, we're the Jets. We're always doing something stupid. Again, I understand that, but was last year's draft not somewhat successful? They nailed the Membu pick. Nailed it. Mason Taylor, I think we like. I think Azareye'h Thomas is a player. Maybe Malachi Moore could be a player on day 3. The other picks sucked on day 3. But again, if they got Membu right and they got Mason Taylor right, that's not nothing. All right, here we go. Let's get to more of your comments here. Joe the Jet writes in, the woe is me mentality of this fan base has to stop. We got to start winning so we could stop being so damn miserable. You cannot blame any Jet fan for being pessimistic. You can't. The ones that are here, they love their team. They try to be optimistic. The ones that are in the chat watching my YouTube show, I just hit over 45,000 subscribers this week. Thank you to everyone for being a part of this. You cannot blame anyone for being cynical. They've given you nothing. They won 3 games this year. Glenn looked inept. Someone came up to me today and goes, who's your guys' head coach now? Like, people forget Glenn wasn't fired. That's what's amazing, how bad it was. That's happened. I did a radio interview with guys that cover the Ravens. They had me on, and they were like, they basically were like, what do you guys think about your new coach? I'm like, what? It's happened multiple times. So, like, I can't blame any Jet fan who's pessimistic. I could tell you this. I think the GM is not a dummy. I would have went with Reese. They went with Bailey. That's not that bad of a pick. We can question some of the process. Sadique, I would have went with a receiver. But he's a weapon. He's a pass catcher. Now let's see what they do at 33 and what they do at 44. That's how you got to look at it. Sadique is a pass catcher. He's weapon 2 in the offense. Tyrone says, I'm okay with the pick. Go Jets. Henny says maybe Cooper makes it to 33. One of those guys I think is going to be there at 33. I think Ty Simpson going in the first round is good for the Jets. We don't have to worry about them making that decision. Everyone can go get their March for Art shirt if you're really upset with the pick. All right. JakeAsman.com. If you buy a shirt, I'll put you in the raffle for 5 entries to anyone who buys one. Jay writes in, we are the Jets. We're always doing something stupid. I get it. The Hamburger says they are a joke. They need a dynamic coach. Oh, wait, it's Glenn. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, look, they have Frank Reich here to coach up Sadique. We'll see. They got Dunbar to coach up Bailey. We'll see. Tyrone says both players are good players. It's up to the coaches to make them great. As for the Knicks, oh my God, Brunson really off. I know. It was tough to see Jalen miss those shots. They really should have won this game tonight. Again, but this is why you can't blow game 2. Don't put yourself in the spot where now you're trailing in the series. All right, I can't even think about the Knicks right now. I mean, the sequence of the Knicks blowing that into Sadique and just try, my head is spinning right now. God! Oh, I'm going to lose my mind. Coach James writes in, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and see how the rest of the draft goes. Sadique ran a 4.37. That's faster than most receivers, and he's big. He is big. Jay writes in, something is singular. What does that mean? Citybird says, 2 high character guys. Bailey's from Stanford. Sadique is a great story. Sadique is a good human being. And so is David Bailey. I don't really give a crap about that. I care if they could help the Jets win games. Truthfully. Josh Surgan says, people can bitch and complain as much as they want. Not much of this matters until they fill out the whole roster and actually start playing. Well, none of this matters until they go out there and, I don't know, they do this thing called win football games. You know what I mean? You can miss on draft picks, but if you win games, people don't care. Like, think about it. We've seen plenty of teams draft busts. They overcome it if they're able to win football games. The Eagles drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson a couple years back. Has it affected them? Rap to Reality says Muji's the worst GM in the league. You can't honestly tell me that Darren Muji's the worst GM in the league. How could you say that? You're probably the same guy that enjoyed all the trades that he was making. Niall Newark says this might be Gronk and Hernandez. Let's just hope Mason Taylor or Kenyon Sadiq, if they are as good as Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, neither one of them ends up being charged for murder, because that'd be very upsetting. All right, we already had Darren Lee. At least he did that when he was already done with football. Gator says Glenn didn't know how to spell lemon. He had to write Sadiq on the card instead. I got to tell you, Sadiq is a tough name to write. In fact, I just realized I screwed up the title when I thought they were taking Lemon. I had the thing done. I had the thumbnail made. I had the title done, and then I just took the video off from unlisted and was ready to roll. And then they're like, Kenyon Sadiq. I'm like, I got to make a new thumbnail. So I was not expecting that. Again, we got over 1,000 people in here. Please like the video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. My name is Jake Asman. I talk about the Jets every day, year-round, for 4 hours a day. I am a nut job. I love this team, even though they don't love me and this fan base back. But we're going to be here every step of the way. We're here at the NFL Draft. We're in Pittsburgh. Jet fans are everywhere. It's been great to interact with so many people who listen to the show. Shout out to everyone who has come up and said hello or came to our draft party earlier. We'll see what the Jets do. They can still trade back into the end of round one. But there's a couple picks left in the first round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream in a minute or so. Going to get to the last couple super chats. And then we're going to go live right after night one, right after the first round. After the first round, we are going to break it all down tonight and take plenty of your calls. I'm coming at you from the NFL Draft. I'm inside the media room, adjacent to where Roger Goodell is announcing the Bears pick right now. KC Concepcion off the board to the Chicago Bears. Interesting pick there by Chicago. Interesting pick. Oh, is that to the... No, he went to the Browns, actually. I misread the graphic. Interesting. He went to the Browns. So the Browns end up getting their receiver. Interesting pick. Don't hate it. Mesidor going to the Chargers I thought was a really good pick. So, man, all right. Couple picks left in the first round, and then we're going to be live again to break it all down. Let me hit a couple of these super chats on the way out. Appreciate everyone being here. Green Up says, Brazel at 33 or 44 is a sleeper pick, underrated. I think if they take Bell in the second round, that can make some sense. He might not be ready right away because he's coming off the ACL, but he's a first-round player, and now you don't have as much of a need for him because you did take a weapon at 16. I could see some logic in that. Would the Jets do that, though? I don't know. I don't know how they feel about him compared to the other receivers. But Chris Bell from Louisville, maybe a name to watch in the second round. Brazel from Tennessee, I think, is a name to watch. Jeremy Bernard from Bama is a name to watch if we're going to talk about a receiver at 33 or 44. My preference, though, and look, we'll see who's on the board when we get to 33. My preference is probably going to be, I'll spoil my take for our nightcap show. My preference is probably going to be they trade out of 33. Brian with a super chat. No, get to camp and get ready for football war. Now get to camp and get ready for football war. Oh, I'll get ready.
Here we go. Let's go. Let's go.
Niall Newark. I read that one. The super chats weren't loading. PBM writes in, scared we drafted a bust at 16. Any pick could be a bust. Am I a little more worried about the Jets at 16 taking a tight end than, say, if they drafted a receiver? Yes. But still, we gotta take this all with a grain of salt. All right? We got to take a chill pill. We got to relax a little bit. Speaking of relaxing, we're brought to you by my friends at IndaCloud tonight. I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing when I get off the air later. Taking an IndaCloud THC soda. All right, the zero sugar THC soda from IndaCloud has become one of my go-tos. If you don't know what IndaCloud is, it's a fully legal online cannabis dispensary. They've got gummies, premium pre-rolls, and again, the zero sugar THC sodas. They have a huge sale going on right now. All right. If you're 21 or older, you go to the indacloud.com website. That's indacloud.co. That's indacloud.co, not .com. Use code ASMAN for 40% off your first order. Again, code ASMAN, and you can check out any of these products that I'm talking about. For me, it's simple. I'm not trying to wake up tomorrow morning feeling sluggish. I want to relax. I want to feel like myself. That's why I use IndaCloud. Check it out for yourself. Code ASMAN at checkout. 40% off all month long. Tell them you heard about them from the Jake Asman Show. Shout out to IndaCloud for supporting our draft coverage this weekend. I want to thank the Asmaniac community helping us hit 45,000 subscribers. No Jet YouTube channel has more subscribers than this one. You guys are the best, so thank you for your support day in, day out. We will take a short break here on YouTube. I'm coming back right after the conclusion of the first round. Full recap show. Let's figure out who's going to be there for the Jets at pick 33. Should they trade back? And let's see if we get more answers on why they went with Bailey and Sadique at 2 and 16. You guys are the best. Thanks for supporting our coverage. Shout out to the Yankees for sweeping Boston, the one positive sports thing that I did have going for me tonight. So I certainly love that. Love it. You guys are the best. I will talk to you in a little bit. Hang in there, Jet fans. We are all in this together. As always, JETS, 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 Jets. Join us on YouTube right after round one concludes.
JETS, 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 Jets. Let's go.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go, Jets.